Thank you very much, Dr. Dasu. Free South Africa, democracy. I don't have to be running away from the police or hiding, But here we are. As people would say, the struggle continues. 2023. We ask what has gone wrong since the time when we were the world's shining example of great possibility that was born out of adversity. And the late Archbishop Tutu, in extolling this historical phenomenon, even coined the term the Rainbow Nation. Do you remember that? The Rainbow Nation. But we wake up every morning looking for just that one thing to restore our hope in a South Africa that puts all of its people in the center of the development agenda. I mean, all of its people to be in the center of the development agenda. And we are hoping that somehow another miracle will come out our way and wake us up from what, for many, is a nightmare in slow motion. We look for that bright light amongst us, which will once again come forth and light up a path for us to a better tomorrow. A steady hand that will find a way to pull us out of the quagmire of systemic underdevelopment and regression that is visiting us, that has been visited upon us under the watch of a government which seems overcome by the extent and degree of dysfunctionality it has presided over. In thinking about these issues, Roger and I have had countless hours reflecting on the state of our democracy. We lamented the leadership void the country was feeling and experiencing across all sectors of our society. You can go to any sector of society, business, education, health, transport, infrastructure. There are lamentations, that really breaks your heart. What important device that we have to face, put up against ourselves to be able to know what do we look like, what can we say to the next generations, given where we come from. But Tupele, a great slogan, has just become a slogan, that's all. The people who mouth it, you wonder about their commitment to the essence of its meaning, about people putting people first. An activist who works in the community like Carol tells you about the sense of alienation that those communities are experiencing now. And therefore, initiatives like Change Starts Now have got their work cut out because there are people there who are drowning in the misery which is not of their own making. So we need to have that mirror as part of our process to put up against those who have the constitutional responsibility to actually look after our resources for development purposes. And talking about Batupele, visit our hospitals. Look at the state of our public transport. Look at the state of our education system, the infrastructure. Those of us who travel by car, South Africa is the only country that I've seen where traffic lights actually maintain a horizontal position on the ground, and not serving the purpose for which our tax money paid for. Now, that to me is a reflection, even in minuscule detail, of the travesty that we are having to go through here. I can't speak about general service delivery, and to crown it all, an economy that is in reverse and with its attendant horrendous rate of joblessness and unemployment. Now, of course, there are policies, they are not being done, which should be done, but somehow the political sift, they get sifted through a political lens that prioritizes what is unimportant from the point of view of turning the economy around, but what is more or less will satisfy the vested interests of those who believe that by being in political office is the end all and be all, and forgetting that people need jobs, people need a working economy, people need investments to come. And if you want investments to come, your behavior and your language must be such that it influences the behavior of those who have the resources to want to invest in our country. You know, you can't have it all by just thinking you'll have workshops and meetings. You need to be able to incentivize the market for people to make those decisions. Now, we also know that many South Africans have become disillusioned, despondent, and have simply checked out, which is a tragedy. If you talk about a representative democracy, a representative democracy only works if everybody is engaged, if everybody feels their representation is genuine and it is true to satisfying the needs of their own social conditions. Many people have simply lost trust and hope that the current government will ever reverse the dysfunctionality it has presided over. People have been alienated by the avarice and corruption that has manifested and become endemic in many of our institutions, which are charged with the responsibility of delivering public goods. They experience how, with each year that passes, more and more of the democratic dividend is disappearing. However, as Nelson Mandela once said, talking about change, it is in our hands. You remember the statement? It's in our hands. Even as he has been on the island for 27 years, he was not going to present himself as a messiah. He understood that change is not about leaders. Change is about when the people are focused on what matters to them, when they begin to move and question those in authority, that change becomes possible. And a leader who can reconcile his interests with that agency that people feel becomes a leader that people can trust. The great victory that you, the people, won over apartheid has endowed us with a constitution under whose protection we have possibility guided by its Bill of Rights of reclaiming our dignity and to dream again of a South Africa that the promise of 1994 was based on. Of course, today, nobody needs to be convinced about how bad things are and the extent to which those we sent to Parliament have let us down. The vindictiveness of those in office who refuse to be accountable to the people is shown by the extent to which they'll go to undermine even the very same constitution whose adoption they were party to. Isn't it tragic? A travesty of our times. They do this all in the interest of their self-preservation rather than for the interest of society. We experience them as avoiding dealing with the recommendations of the Zondo Commission, as no longer paying attention to the constitutional injunction to build a non-racial and democratic, even the language of speaking about non-racialism, a central tenet at the heart of what our struggle against apartheid was. Have you ever had anyone having a meeting even just to talk about the importance of getting people together? That slogan says we need to turn towards each other, not against each other. Apartheid was doing the exact opposite. So the more you stop talking about the importance of non-racialism, you continue to increase the divide between people, and you make the project of Verwoerd to succeed in our lifetime. And I don't think we can allow that, and I don't think we should allow it. And by default, and perhaps even by design, as some people believe, thereby allowing apartheid socio-political designs to be resuscitated and come across as not seeming to care that South Africa is, under their watch, increasingly being re-racialized. South Africa is being re-racialized despite the fact that we have a constitution in terms of whose preamble the injunction is for us to build a non-racial, non-sexist, a democratic society. So we have to rededicate ourselves to that to fight against the scourge of a re-racialization of our society, because we know what the outcome of that is. Look at countries where racial segregation actually takes place. In fact, you don't have to look far. Our own experience tells us that if leaders don't engage with this, we're leaving people to the scourge of racial division. And I think if you remember Phoenix and all of those things, we can't go back to those situations. But there is something we can do. We must find each other, take the responsibility in our hands to make sure that we fight so that our country is not derailed from realizing the great promise of 1994. We all can and must do something. Our Constitution establishes the right of all South Africans to organize themselves and to freely associate through any such formation that they believe will represent their interests. So that right is sacrosanct. No matter what they can say when they talk about change starts now, we're giving life to our Constitution. And when you give life to the Constitution, you take the risks that are necessary for you to take in order for that Constitution to live. So by being here, we are here to hold Roger's hand to say, we together with you, we are going to bring our country's Constitution to life by the decisions that we make. And when we go to the polls at the next election, we will be making a mark, in the aid of our great Constitution. And that is why we are here today, to witness, to encourage, and to support a son of the soil of this land who has come to the conclusion that he cannot just be a spectator when South Africa now needs its sons and daughters who truly believe in the values enshrined in our Constitution and its Bill of Rights, to rise to its defense, to rescue it from the clutches of those who will sooner sell it for a dime and a nickel, to line their pockets rather than to, at all times, put the interests of the people first. Roger has raised his hand and will today talk to us about the platform he's kicking off while calling out that change starts now. There will be a home in it for you, even if you have become at how things have turned out in the country you love so much. We can bring South Africa back from the abyss by joining Roger, shaping the Great Reset. That is why he's here today. In the township, Rivoli, where his survival instincts were honed, were sharpened, and his childhood was nurtured in a community that apartheid sought to consign to the margins of society. We are here today, and Rivoli has come here today in numbers to say we are here and we matter and we will stand for our rights behind Roger. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about possibility, it's about trust, It's about endearment to an idea that is consigned in our constitution that we want and have to live by. And Roger Jardine is an embodiment of that great, in fact, possibility that the Constitution recognizes that it needs to make a way for, so that when those like him are there, our society should be able to open up the space to make sure that they are the ones who move forward, so that we can push back the rot that the country has suffered from in the past, well, not over 30 years, but in the past 20 years at the very least.